Hi everyone, it's Jerry Chen from realestatetaxtips.ca again. Today I'm going to share with you one of the questions that many of my prospective clients ask. Whenever you claim home office expense, would that affect your claim on primary residence exemption? So for those of for the audience that do not know, primary residence is essentially the biggest tax-free asset you can ever own in Canada. The reason is because well, I live in Burlington, very close to Toronto, and the housing price has gone up substantially over the last 10 years in the GTA area. And we're expecting over 150,000 people coming to Ontario every year, and a lot of them would land in the Golden Horseshoe. So the supply and demand is not adding up and forcing the housing price to go up. Now, because of that, when you sell the property, in Canada, you are allowed to sell the property that you live in without paying taxes on it. And but then because we're also all real estate investor and we would like to maximize our tax deduction, we use chances are we use one of our own room to for home office to manage our rental portfolio, or being a home office for our flipping business or contracting business, or we use a home office just to operate our real estate business out of. I personally have a home office. I'm recording this audio video from my home office, so I do deduct home office expense as well. Now the question often comes in like, would you still qualify to claim primary residence exemption on the entire house when you sell the property? So, which means that in layman terms, is that would you need to pay tax if you sell your primary residence if you claim home office expense? Now, the answer to the question is usually it depends. The reason is because it's hard to determine on a case by case. Well, it is not hard to determine on a case by case basis. It is based on your individual situation. So let's just use an example. If you have a bungalow, raised bungalow, and you rented out your basement, and upstairs you're using it for your own primary residence. So there is technically a partial change in use of your primary residence because you're now renting out your basement. One of the rules in CRA's eyes is that one of the practice that CRA says on their website that the income producing use is ancillary to the main use of the property as a resident, which means that the majority of the house, to preserve the primary residence exemption, meaning that to not pay tax on when you sell the property, the income producing use portion of it has to be ancillary to the main use of the property as a resident. So what does that mean by ancillary? We don't know. Typically speaking, if you claim there is no tax rule, but typically speaking, the less you claim as your income producing use, the more likely you would qualify to claim the primary residence exemption. Now, of course, there are other conditions to it. The second condition is that you cannot make a structural change to the property to accommodate your income producing use, and you cannot claim CCA on your primary residence. All these three criteria have to be in place to avoid losing your primary residence exemption. Now, so when you claim your home office expense, if you rent out your basement, going back to our example, you rent out your basement, say, because we're talking about an example of upstairs and downstairs, and then downstairs is already 50% of your property. And if you also claim home office expense on top of it, chances are you would lose your primary residence exemption. Now, if you don't have any tenants, and for me currently we don't have any tenants, the entire house is used for the enjoyment for by my family, and I'm really using one of the rooms to be my office. I think last year I claimed 6% of my whole house as my home office expense, and yeah, like from that angle, if you claim just home office expense and it's just like some insignificant amount, and it's only ancillary to your primary residence purpose, living there, then you will still be able to preserve your primary residence exemption. Until next time, happy Canadian real estate investing and happy March break.